Part 1. First Contact. The wind howled like an angry beast outside the small research station. Dr. Marcus Chen pulled his jacket tighter and checked the weather monitor again. The storm was getting worse. Much worse. Another beautiful day on Kepler 442b, he said to himself with a bitter laugh. The planet was supposed to be humanity's new home. So far, it felt more like an ice-cold prison. Marcus had been alone at the research station for 3 weeks now. His job was simple: study the local plants and animals, send reports back to Earth. Most days, he found nothing interesting, just frozen ground, dead trees, and the occasional ice rat. But today felt different. The alarm on his scanner started beeping. Marcus frowned and looked at the small screen. Something was moving out there, in the storm. Something big. Probably just another ice bear, he muttered. The local predators were huge and dangerous. Smart colonists stayed inside during storms like this, but the signal wasn't moving like an animal. It was slow, unsteady, almost like it was hurt. Marcus grabbed his heavy coat and thermal scanner. His grandmother's old wool blanket was hanging by the door, the only thing from Earth that still smelled like home. He touched it for luck before stepping outside. The cold hit him like a punch to the face. The wind was so strong he could barely walk straight. Snow whipped around him, making it hard to see anything beyond a few meters. He followed the scanners beeping through the storm. The signal was getting stronger. Whatever was out there, it was close now. Then he saw her. At first, Marcus thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The shape huddled against a large rock didn't look like any animal he knew. As he got closer, his heart started racing. It was definitely not human. The creature was small, about the size of a human child. Her skin looked like it was made of crystal, pale blue and semi-transparent. But the crystals were cracked and broken. Dark liquid, probably blood, leaked from several wounds. She had 4 arms instead of 2. Her face was more human-like than he expected, but her eyes were huge and had multiple colors swirling in them like tiny galaxies. Strange patterns glowed faintly under her crystal skin, but the light was flickering and weak. She was dying. Marcus knew he should call the main colony immediately. First contact with alien life was supposed to follow strict protocols. There were procedures, forms to fill out, specialists to contact, but she would be dead before help arrived. The alien girl's eyes opened and looked at him. Even though her face was completely different from human faces, he could see the fear there. And pain. So much pain. "Hey," Marcus said softly, the way he might talk to a scared animal. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." She tried to move away from him, but she was too weak. Her crystal skin was turning darker by the minute. Marcus didn't know much about alien biology, but he knew what dying looked like. He made a decision that would change everything. Marcus carefully picked up the alien girl. She was surprisingly light, and her crystal skin felt cold even through his thick gloves. She made a soft sound, maybe fear, maybe pain. He couldn't tell. "Easy there," he whispered. "Let's get you warm." The walk back to the research station felt like hours, but it was probably only minutes. Marcus burst through the door, grateful for the heat that hit his face. He gently laid the alien girl on his examination table. She was shivering now, her crystal skin making tiny clinking sounds. The glowing patterns under her skin were almost completely dark. Marcus had basic medical supplies, but nothing designed for crystal-based life forms. He didn't even know if human medicine would help her or make things worse. The girl's breathing was getting weaker. Her eyes found his face, and he saw something that made his chest tight. She looked grateful. Even dying, even scared, she was grateful that someone had bothered to help. That's when Marcus remembered the blanket. His grandmother had made it herself, back on Earth. Pure wool, soft and warm. She'd told him stories about how her grandmother had taught her to knit, and her grandmother before that. The blanket carried the love of generations of his family. It was the most precious thing Marcus owned. Without thinking twice, he went to the door and grabbed it. The alien girl's eyes followed him as he came back. When he gently wrapped the wool blanket around her crystal body, something incredible happened. The moment the soft wool touched her skin, the girl's crystal body began to hum. Not with sound, but with vibration that Marcus could feel in his bones. The blanket itself started to glow with the same patterns that flickered under her skin. The alien girl's eyes went wide with shock. She sat up suddenly, much stronger than she'd been just seconds before. Her crystal skin was still cracked, but the dark blood had stopped flowing. The patterns under her skin were glowing brighter now, pulsing in rhythm with the wool fibers. She stared at Marcus for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was like music made of crystal bells. "You," she said in perfect English, though Marcus was sure she'd never heard human language before. "You gave freely?" Marcus blinked in surprise. Yes? You needed help." The girl looked down at the blanket wrapped around her, then back at his face. Tears that sparkled like diamonds rolled down her crystal cheeks. "No one gives freely," she whispered. "Everything has a price. Everything is taken. But you gave freely." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, alarms started blaring outside. Red emergency lights flashed through the station windows. His communication system crackled to life. "All colonists, this is Colony Command. Unidentified ships are entering our system. Multiple large vessels. This is not a drill. Prepare for possible hostile contact." Marcus looked out the window and felt his blood turn to ice. Dark shapes were descending through the storm clouds. Ships, massive ships that blocked out sections of the sky. The alien girl saw them too. Her crystal skin went dark with fear. "They found me," she whispered. "The hegemony found me." "Who's the hegemony?" Marcus asked. But deep down, he already knew the answer wouldn't be good. The girl's crystal body began to change. She was getting bigger, her forearms growing longer and stronger. The blanket stretched to accommodate her new size, still glowing with those strange patterns. "They are the ones who killed my people," she said, her voice now deeper and filled with power that hadn't been there before. "They are the ones who hunt the last of my kind. And now—" She looked at Marcus with eyes that held both gratitude and terrible sadness. "Now they will kill you too because you showed me kindness." The first explosion shook the research station. Outside, Marcus could see smaller ships landing around the colony. Dark figures were pouring out of them, moving with military precision toward the human settlements. "What do they want?" Marcus asked, grabbing his emergency supplies. The alien girl stood up, the wool blanket now part of her somehow, woven into her crystal structure, but still recognizably the same blanket his grandmother had made with love. "They want me," she said simply. "My name is Zara. I am the last of the Resonari. And what you just did, giving freely, without asking for anything back, you awakened something in me that has been sleeping for 3 years." She raised her 4 arms, and Marcus watched in amazement as the metal walls of the research station began to shift and change shape, forming protective barriers. "The hegemony thinks they broke me when they destroyed my world," Zara continued, her crystal skin now blazing with light. "They think I can never use my abilities again because of what they did to my people." Another explosion, closer this time. Through the reinforced walls, Marcus could hear weapons fire and human voices shouting orders. Zara turned to him, her galaxy-colored eyes filled with determination. "They were wrong. Your kindness proved them wrong. But Marcus Chen of Earth—" She somehow knew his name now, though he'd never told her. "This is only the beginning. The hegemony will not give up easily. And what happens next will determine the fate of not just your colony, but every free world in this galaxy." The research station shook as something heavy landed on the roof. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Marcus looked at the strange alien girl who had somehow become humanity's greatest hope and possibly its greatest danger. "What do we do now?" he asked. Zara smiled, and when she did, the wool blanket glowed brighter than ever. "Now, Marcus Chen, you teach me what it truly means to be free." Part 2. The Revelation. The roof of the research station exploded inward. Chunks of metal and ice crashed down around Marcus and Zara. Through the smoking hole, dark shapes dropped down on cables. Marcus had never seen aliens like these before. They were tall and thin, wearing black armor that seemed to absorb light. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but he could see glowing red eyes through the visors. Each soldier carried weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. "Hegemony shock troops," Zara whispered. Her crystal skin had turned almost black with fear. "They found me faster than I expected." The lead soldier raised his weapon and pointed it at Marcus. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. "Human. Step away from the Resonari. You have 10 seconds before we consider you hostile." Marcus looked at Zara, then back at the soldiers. He could have moved away. Should have moved away. Any smart person would have stepped back and let the aliens handle their own business. Instead, Marcus stepped in front of Zara. "She's hurt," he said simply. "She needs medical help." The soldiers paused. Marcus could hear them talking to each other in a language that sounded like machine noise. Finally, the leader spoke again. "Curious. The human shows protective behavior toward an unknown species. This was not predicted." "Humans are unpredictable," another soldier said. "Command warned us about this." The leader tilted his head, studying Marcus like he was an interesting bug. "Human, you do not understand what you are protecting. This creature is a weapon of mass destruction. She has killed thousands of our people." "I killed your people because you killed mine first," Zara shouted from behind Marcus. Her voice made the metal walls ring like bells. "You destroyed my entire world." "Your people were a threat to galactic stability," the leader replied coldly. "The Resonari could reshape reality with their songs. Such power cannot be allowed to exist freely." Marcus felt Zara's hand touch his shoulder. Even through his jacket, he could feel warmth spreading from her crystal fingers. The wool blanket, still somehow part of her now, glowed softly. "Marcus," she whispered, "I need to tell you the truth. About what I am. About what they did." The hegemony soldiers raised their weapons higher, but they didn't fire yet. Marcus got the feeling they were waiting for something. "My people. The Resonari. We were not like other species," Zara began, her voice growing stronger. "We could sing matter into new shapes. We could heal worlds that were broken. We could turn deserts into gardens with our voices." One of the soldiers laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Tell him the rest, weapon. Tell him how your people refused to join the hegemony, how they thought they were too good for galactic order." Zara's crystal skin flared with angry light. "We refuse to become slaves! We refuse to use our gifts to build weapons and conquer innocent worlds." "So you destroyed them," Marcus said quietly, understanding starting to dawn in his mind. The soldier leader nodded. "The hegemony brings order to chaos. Species that cannot be controlled must be eliminated. It is simple logic." "You bombed our cities from orbit," Zara continued, tears flowing down her crystal cheeks. "You turned our crystal forests into glass deserts. You hunted down every last Resonari until only children were left hiding in caves." Marcus felt sick to his stomach. "How many worlds have you done this to?" 237 species have been pacified by the hegemony," the leader said with what sounded like pride. "Chaos is eliminated. Order is maintained. The galaxy is safer." "Safer for who?" Marcus asked. But he already knew the answer. Safer for the hegemony. Safer for those in power, not safer for anyone else. "The girl cannot use her abilities," another soldier said. Our psychologists confirmed this. The trauma of watching her people die broke her connection to the harmonic frequencies. She is powerless, the leader nodded. Which is why we kept her. Alive, a Resonari brain, even a broken one, can power our world-shaper weapons. She is more valuable as a component than as a threat. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. These creatures talked about Zara like she was a machine part, not a living being with thoughts and feelings. But something has changed, the leader continued, looking at the glowing blanket wrapped around Zara. She is resonating again. Her harmonic patterns are active. This should not be possible. Marcus looked back at Zara. Her crystal skin was pulsing with soft light, and he could hear a very faint humming in the air around her. "It was you," she whispered to him. "When you wrapped me in your blanket. When you gave freely without asking for anything back. No one had shown me kindness for so long that I forgot what it felt like." The soldier leader stepped forward. "Explain." Zara stood up straighter. The blanket around her seemed to give her courage. "Resonari abilities don't work on command. We can't just decide to reshape matter. Our powers only activate when we feel genuine gratitude, love, or connection with others." She looked at Marcus with wonder in her galaxy-colored eyes. "Your people call it many things. Friendship, love, kindness. For 3 years I felt none of these things. I was alone, afraid, hunted. My abilities went silent. And now?" the leader asked, though Marcus could hear worry in his mechanical voice. "Now I remember what my grandmother taught me," Zara said. "The song of matter is not about power. It's about harmony. It's about beings caring for each other freely, without expecting anything in return." The soldiers started backing toward the hole in the roof. Marcus could tell they were getting nervous. "This changes nothing," the leader said. "You are still outnumbered. Our ship has weapons that can destroy this entire colony. Surrender now, and we will make the humans' deaths quick." That's when Marcus heard something that made his heart leap with hope. Voices outside, human voices, shouting orders and preparing for battle. "This is Colonel Sarah Rodriguez of the Colonial Defense Force," a woman's voice crackled through the research station's communication system. "Unidentified vessels. You are in violation of human space. Withdraw immediately or face defensive action." The soldier leader touched his helmet, probably communicating with his ship. After a moment, he looked back at Marcus and Zara. "Your people are brave but foolish, human. Our ship carries enough firepower to glass your planet. What can your small colony do against the might of the hegemony?" Marcus smiled. "You really don't understand humans, do you?" "Explain." "We don't give up," Marcus said simply. "When someone threatens our friends, our family, our home, we fight. Even when we can't win. Maybe especially when we can't win." Through the hole in the roof, Marcus could see lights moving in the storm. Human fighters, small and fast, were engaging the massive hegemony ships. They were vastly outgunned, but they kept fighting anyway. Zara's crystal skin began to glow brighter. "I can feel them," she whispered. "Your people. They're not fighting just for themselves. They're fighting for me too. A stranger they've never met." The humming in the air was getting stronger. Marcus could feel vibrations in his bones, just like when Zara first touched the blanket. "This is impossible," one of the soldiers said. "Humans don't form pack bonds with alien species. It's not in their psychological profile." "Your profiles are wrong," Marcus said. "We form bonds with anyone who needs help. It's what we do." Suddenly, the metal floor beneath their feet began to change. It rippled like water, forming protective barriers around Marcus and Zara. The walls of the research station started reshaping themselves into something that looked almost organic. "She's fully active!" the soldier leader shouted. Fall back now!" But as the soldiers tried to retreat through the hole in the roof, the metal around the opening flowed like liquid, sealing shut. Zara was reshaping the entire building. with her song. "I won't hurt you," she said to the trapped soldiers, her voice now carrying harmonics that made the air shimmer. "But I won't let you hurt my friend either." The leader raised his weapon at Marcus. "Then your friend dies." Before Marcus could react, the weapon simply changed. The metal flowed and reshaped itself into something that looked like a flower. Beautiful but completely harmless. "You see," Zara said, "that's what the hegemony never understood about the Resonari. We don't destroy. We transform. We make ugly things beautiful. We turn weapons into art." The soldier looked at his flower weapon with what might have been confusion. "This violates all tactical parameters." "Good," Marcus said. "Maybe it's time you learned some new parameters." But their victory celebration was short-lived. The communication system crackled to life again, and this time the voice was cold and filled with authority. "This is Hegemony Commander Vex aboard the battleship Domination. I see our advance team has encountered difficulties. No matter. Human colony, you have exactly 60 seconds to surrender the Resonari to us." Marcus looked out through the transformed walls of the research station. In the sky above, a ship so massive it blocked out the stars was moving into position. "If you do not comply," the voice continued, "we will demonstrate why resistance to the hegemony is futile. Your planetary defense grid will be eliminated, followed by your cities, followed by every living thing on this world." Zara grabbed Marcus's arm. Her crystal skin had gone pale with fear. "He means it," she whispered. "Commander Vex destroyed the last 3 worlds that harbored Resonari refugees. Billions of people died because they wouldn't give me up." Marcus looked at her, then at the trapped hegemony soldiers, then up at Part 3, the human factor. "Time's up." Commander Vex's voice boomed across the colony. "You have made your choice." The massive hegemony battleship began to glow with deadly energy. Marcus could see the weapon ports opening like hungry mouths, ready to rain destruction on his home. But then something beautiful happened. "Dr. Chen?" A voice crackled through his communication system. It was Maria Santos from the agricultural dome. "Is the alien girl really just a kid who needs help?" "Yes," Marcus said quickly. "Her name is Zara. Her family was killed. She's been alone and scared for 3 years." "Then she's one of us now," Maria said firmly. "Nobody hurts our family." More voices joined in. Tom from the mining station. "We've got plenty of room for one more." Lisa from the medical center. "Tell her she doesn't have to be afraid anymore." Captain Rodriguez from the Defense Force. "We protect our own, no matter where they come from." Zara stared at the communication system in wonder. Her crystal skin was beginning to glow brighter with each new voice. "I don't understand," she whispered. "They don't even know me. Why would they risk their lives for a stranger?" Marcus smiled. "Because that's what humans do. We adopt strays. All kinds of strays." Hundreds of voices were joining the conversation now. Farmers, miners, teachers, children, soldiers, all saying the same thing in different ways. Zara was welcome. Zara was family. Zara was worth fighting for. The hegemony soldiers trapped in the research station looked confused. One of them spoke into his helmet communicator. "Commander, the humans are exhibiting pack bonding behavior with the Resonari. This was not in our tactical analysis." Commander Vex's voice came back, annoyed. "Impossible. Humans only bond with their own species. Our psychologists confirmed this." "Your psychologists are idiots," Marcus said loudly enough for the communication system to pick up. Up in space, there was a pause. Then Commander Vex spoke directly to Marcus. "Dr. Marcus Chen, I have studied your species for many years. You are selfish, violent, and chaotic. You fight wars over resources, territory, and ideology. You would never sacrifice yourselves for an alien creature you just met." "You're right about some things," Marcus admitted. "We do fight wars. We can be selfish, But you missed the most important thing about humans, which is, Marcus looked at Zara, whose crystal skin was now blazing with light as she listened to thousands of human voices offering her friendship and protection. We're really, really good at adopting things that need a family. As if to prove his point, old Pete from the livestock farm spoke up on the communication system. Hell, I once spent 3 weeks nursing a sick alien bird back to health. Didn't even know what species it was. If we'll do that for a bird, what do you think we'll do for a girl who needs our help? Zara began to laugh. It was a sound like crystal bells ringing in harmony. The wool blanket around her shoulders glowed so brightly it lit up the entire research station. I can feel them, she said in amazement. All of them. Their kindness, their acceptance. It's like a symphony of caring. The humming in the air grew stronger. The walls of the research station weren't just reshaping now. They were transforming into something entirely new. The metal became smooth and crystalline, but still somehow soft and welcoming. It looked like technology and nature had learned to dance together. "Warning!" one of the hegemony soldiers said nervously. "The Resonari's power levels are increasing beyond predicted parameters." Commander Vex's voice carried a note of worry now. "How much beyond parameters?" "Sir, we've never seen readings this high, not even from adult Resonari before the pacification." That's when Marcus realized something important. "Zara, your people, they lived in small family groups, didn't they? Villages, maybe tribes?" She nodded. "The largest Resonari city had maybe 10,000 people. We preferred smaller communities where everyone knew each other. But there are 50,000 humans in this colony," Marcus said, excitement building in his voice. "And they're all trying to connect with you at once." Zara's eyes went wide. "No Resonari has ever had this many people offering their friendship at the same time. I don't know what will happen." They found out quickly. The transformation spread beyond the research station. Every building in the colony began to change, metal and stone flowing like water and reshaping into beautiful, organic forms. The harsh industrial structures became elegant crystalline spires that somehow still functioned perfectly as homes and workplaces. "By the void," one of the hegemony soldiers whispered. "She's reshaping an entire city." But Zara wasn't just changing. Buildings. The very ground beneath the colony was transforming. The frozen dead soil became rich and fertile. Plants that had never existed before began growing. Not quite earth plants, not quite alien, but something new and wonderful that combined both worlds. "Commander," the soldier leader shouted into his communicator. "The situation has escalated beyond our control. Request immediate extraction." "Negative," Commander Vex replied. "You will complete the mission. Capture the Resonari or terminate her if capture is impossible." The soldiers raised their weapons, but the moment they tried to fire, the energy beams simply stopped. The air around Zara had become so thick with harmonic vibrations that the weapon's energy was absorbed and transformed into beautiful patterns of light. "This is impossible," the leader said. "She's violating the laws of physics." "No," Marcus said, understanding dawning on him. "She's not violating them. She's rewriting them. That's what Resonari do, isn't it, Zara? You don't just reshape matter. You reshape the rules that govern matter." Zara nodded, her expression filled with wonder at her own abilities. "My grandmother used to say that reality is just a song that most people can't hear. But if you can hear it, if you can add your own voice to the harmony," she gestured, and gravity seemed to shift slightly. The hegemony soldiers found themselves gently pushed upward until they were floating near the ceiling, completely unable to threaten anyone. "You can compose new verses," she finished. Commander Vex's battleship fired its planet-killer weapon. The beam of pure destruction lanced down from space, carrying enough power to crack continents. But when it hit the colony, something extraordinary happened. Instead of destroying, the beam was absorbed by the crystalline spires Zara had created. The deadly energy flowed through the transformed buildings like water through pipes and came out the other side as pure, harmless light that painted beautiful auroras across the sky. "What?" Commander Vex's voice cracked with disbelief. "That's impossible! Nothing can absorb a Class 7 destruction beam!" "You keep using that word," Marcus said cheerfully. "I don't think it means what you think it means." Zara was glowing, so brightly now that it was hard to look directly at her, but her voice was calm and peaceful. "Commander Vex, you said you studied humans for many years, but you never understood the most important thing about them, which is," the commander snarled, "they make everything they touch better. Their kindness, their willingness to help strangers, their refusal to give up hope. It's contagious. And now that I've been infected with their humanity..." Zara raised all four of her arms, and Marcus felt power building in the air around them. Not destructive power, creative power. The kind of power that built gardens instead of weapons. I can share it with others. The transformation wasn't limited to the colony anymore. It was spreading outward, touching the hegemony ships in orbit. Marcus watched through the transformed walls as the dark, angular war vessels began to change. Their weapon systems flowed and shifted, becoming communication arrays. Their armor plating softened into beautiful, artistic curves. All ships report. "Systems malfunctioning!" Voices crackled over the hegemony communication channels. "Weapons non-functional, engines! Engines are working, but they won't fire on anything. They only respond to peaceful navigation commands." "She's turned our entire fleet into exploration vessels," Commander Vex said, his voice filled with shocked amazement. "Cool, right?" Marcus said. "Zara, can you hear what's happening on their ships?" Zara nodded, her expression growing sad. "There are so many other species aboard those ships. Slaves, prisoners, soldiers who were forced to fight. They're all so tired of the violence, so tired of the fear." She closed her galaxy-colored eyes and extended her awareness further. "I can feel them, Marcus. Hundreds of different species, all trapped in the hegemony system of cruelty. They want to be free. They want to be kind to each other. But they've forgotten how." "Can you help them remember?" Marcus asked. Zara smiled, and in that smile was all the warmth of the wool blanket that had started this transformation, all the kindness of the human voices that had welcomed a lost alien girl, and all the hope of beings who refused to give up on each other. "I think," she said, "that's exactly what I was meant to do." The harmonic vibrations spread further, reaching beyond the ships to touch every hegemony installation in the system. Not to destroy them, but to remind them what they could be if they chose cooperation over conquest. But deep in space, Commander Vex was not ready to give up. "If I cannot have the weapon," his voice boomed across all frequencies, "then I will ensure no one can have it. Activating the Resonance Destroyer." Marcus felt Zara's crystal skin turn cold with terror. "What's the Resonance Destroyer?" he asked. "A weapon built from the bones of my homeworld," Zara whispered. "It's Part 4, the Song of Freedom." The Resonance Destroyer was unlike any weapon Marcus had ever seen. Through the transformed walls of the research station, he could see it extending from Commander Vex's battleship like a massive spike made of broken crystal. Even from a distance it hurt to look at. "It's made from the singing stones of my homeworld," Zara said, her voice filled with old pain. "When the hegemony destroyed our planet, they collected the crystal fragments and weaponized them. The stones remember the death songs of my people." Marcus felt sick. "They turned your family's remains into a weapon against you." "Yes, and it works by doing the opposite of what I do. Instead of creating connections, it destroys them. Instead of harmony, it brings discord. When it activates..." Zara couldn't finish the sentence, but Marcus understood. The weapon would tear apart every bond of friendship and love she'd formed with the human colonists. The emotional backlash would kill her and probably everyone connected to her. How long do we have? Marcus asked. Maybe 10 minutes, Zara said, watching the dark crystal weapon charge with malevolent energy. It takes time to build up enough power to break connections across an entire star system. Marcus activated the colony communication system again. This is Dr. Chen. I need everyone to listen carefully. We're in serious trouble. He explained about the resonance destroyer as simply as he could. When he finished, there was silence across the communication channels. Then Captain Rodriguez spoke up. So you're telling us that if we stay connected to Zara, we'll all die when that thing fires? That's about the size of it, Marcus said. Another long pause. Then old Pete from the livestock farm started laughing. Well, hell, Pete said. I was wondering when things were going to get interesting around here. More voices joined in, one after another. Nobody abandons family, not even to save our own lives. If Zara dies, who's going to help all those enslaved aliens up there? My grandmother didn't raise a quitter. We've come this far together. We finished this together. Marcus looked at Zara, whose crystal skin was flickering between light and darkness as she listened to the humans refusing to abandon her. They don't understand, she said, diamond tears streaming down her face. I can feel their fear, but they're choosing to stay connected anyway. Why would they do that? Because that's what families do, Marcus said simply. We stick together, even when it's dangerous, especially when it's dangerous. Zara's crystal skin flared brighter, but Marcus could also feel something else through their connection. The bonds linking her to the 50,000 colonists weren't just holding steady, they were getting stronger. Marcus, Zara said suddenly, I think I understand something about my abilities that even my people never knew. What? Resonari powers were always strongest during times of great emotion, love, gratitude, joy, but also fear, sadness, and even anger. What if the hegemony is right to be afraid? What if connection doesn't make us weaker when we're threatened? She looked at him with wonder in her galaxy-colored eyes. What if it makes us stronger? That's when Marcus heard something that made his heart soar. The communication system was picking up voices from the hegemony ships themselves. This is Technical Specialist Keth aboard the cruiser Dominion, a voice said in accented but clear English. We have been monitoring your broadcasts. Request permission to join your resistance network. Keth? Marcus said, surprised. Your hegemony crew. We were conscripted from our home world when I was a child, Keth replied. My people, the Zalani, were one of the first species the hegemony conquered. We have been waiting 300 years for someone to show us that freedom was possible. More voices joined in from other ships. This is Engineer Korax. My people built these ships as slaves. We know every weakness. Pilot Vestra here. I've been dreaming of flying among the stars for exploration, not conquest. Medical Officer Theiss. I became a healer to save lives, not to help take them. Zara gasped. I can feel them. They're so far away, but their desire for freedom is creating connections across space itself. The trapped hegemony soldiers in the research station looked confused and frightened. Their leader spoke into his communicator. Commander, multiple ships are reporting crew defections. The aliens' influence is spreading beyond calculated parameters. Commander Vex's voice crackled back, filled with rage. Then we accelerate the timeline. Firing resonance destroyer in 3 minutes. All loyal crew, prepare for harmonic shockwave. Marcus felt Zara's terror spike through their connection. But underneath the fear, he also felt something else building. Determination, love, and something. That felt like music. Zara, Marcus said, you mentioned that your grandmother taught you about reality being a song. What if we don't try to defend against the resonance destroyer? What if we sing louder? Zara looked at him with sudden understanding. You mean harmonize with it? Turn their weapon of discord into part of our song of connection? Exactly. Your people could reshape matter by singing to it, right? So what happens if 50,000 humans and thousands of aliens all sing together? Zara's crystal skin blazed with excitement. I don't know. No Resonari has ever tried anything like that. The harmonics could be incredible or we could accidentally reshape half the galaxy, Marcus grinned. You say that like it's a bad thing. He opened the communication channels to every ship in the system, both human and hegemony. Attention everyone who believes in freedom, friendship, and the right to choose your own destiny. We're going to try something that's never been done before. We're going to sing. Sing, Captain Rodriguez asked. Sing, Marcus confirmed. It doesn't matter if you can't carry a tune. It doesn't matter what species you are or what language you speak. Just make sound with the intention of connection, love, and defiance against tyranny. 2 minutes to Resonance Destroyer activation, Commander Vex announced grimly. Zara stood up, the wool blanket flowing around her like liquid light. Marcus, if this works, everything changes. Not just here, but everywhere the song reaches. The hegemony's entire system of control could collapse. And if it doesn't work, we die, but we die free and together. Marcus smiled. Sounds like a win-win to me. He took a deep breath and began to sing. It wasn't a fancy song, just an old Earth lullaby his grandmother used to sing to him. But he sang it with all the love he felt for his adopted alien sister, all the pride he felt in his fellow humans, and all the hope he had for a galaxy where different species could live together in peace. Zara joined in, her crystal voice weaving, harmonies around his simple melody. The sound was impossibly beautiful, like hearing starlight given voice. Then other voices joined them. Captain Rodriguez singing an old military march. Old Pete humming a farming song, children singing playground rhymes, teenagers singing popular songs, engineers humming work rhythms. The alien voices from the hegemony ships added their own melodies, clicking languages, harmonic trills, rhythmic pulses that had no human equivalent but somehow fit perfectly into the growing symphony. 1 minute to activation, Commander Vex said. But Marcus could hear uncertainty in his voice now. The song was spreading beyond their star system. Zara's powers, amplified by the massive choir of voices, were carrying the melody across space, itself. On distant worlds where the hegemony ruled, enslaved populations heard the song and began to add their own voices. Impossible readings across all sectors, voices reported from hegemony command ships. Harmonic resonance is building in over 600 systems simultaneously. Sir, the trapped soldier leader said, his mechanical voice now carrying notes of wonder. I'm detecting emotional frequencies I didn't know I was capable of experiencing. The song it's beautiful. Even the hegemony soldiers were beginning to hum along. 30 seconds, Commander Vex announced, but his voice was wavering. The Resonance Destroyer fired. The weapon's dark energy lanced out, designed to shatter every connection, break every bond, and turn harmony into discord. But instead of hitting a network of fragile emotional links, it struck a galaxy-spanning chorus of unified voices. The destruction beam met the song and changed. Marcus watched in amazement as the dark crystal weapon began to transform. The broken fragments of Zara's homeworld, weaponized into an instrument of discord, remembered what they used to be. They remembered being part of a living world where crystal beings sang reality into beautiful new shapes. The weapon's energy reversed. Instead of destroying connections, it began creating them. Instead of bringing discord, it amplified the harmony. What's happening? Commander Vex shouted. The Resonance Destroyer It's coming home, Zara said softly, tears of joy streaming down her face as she felt the crystal fragments of her world singing again after centuries of silence. The transformed weapon sent waves of pure harmonic energy across the galaxy. Everywhere, the waves touched. Beings remembered what it felt like to care for each other. Tyrants found themselves unable to give cruel orders. Soldiers discovered they preferred building to destroying. Enslaved populations realized they outnumbered their oppressors 1,000,000 to 1. But the most remarkable transformation was happening right there in the research station. Commander Vex materialized in a beam of light, not as a conqueror, but as a being who had just heard the song of connection for the first time in his long life. He was tall and elegant, with skin that... Part 5. The New Harmony. "So what happens now?" Marcus had asked. Zara looked out at the transformed galaxy, her crystal skin glowing with the light of billions of connected voices. Through the harmonic network, she could feel every world where the song had touched hearts and minds. "Now," she said with a smile that held all the warmth of a grandmother's wool blanket, "we build something beautiful." The changes started immediately. On the former hegemony capital world of Dominax Prime, the massive slave factories simply stopped. Not because of rebellion or violence, but because the overseers found they could no longer bear to cause suffering. Instead, they began working alongside their former prisoners to transform the factories into centers of learning and art. "This is impossible," Commander Vex said, monitoring reports from across his former empire. But he was smiling as he said, "It. 300 years of control, broken in a single day by a song." "Not just any song," Marcus corrected gently. "A song about choosing to care for each other. That's the most powerful force in the universe." Commander Vex, who had asked to be called by his real name, Lyrics, nodded slowly. He was still getting used to having emotions again after centuries of suppression. "My people were musicians before the hegemony came," he said quietly. "We created symphonies that could make flowers bloom and rivers change course. The hegemony turned our art into weapons, our songs into tools of control." Zara placed one of her crystal hands on his shoulder. "Would you like to learn to sing for joy again?" The reports kept coming in from across the galaxy. On Theta Cygni, a mining world where the hegemony had worked millions of beings to death, the survivors were using their industrial equipment to build gardens instead of digging graves. On Kepler 438b, a prison planet, the guards had opened all the cells and were teaching former inmates new skills. But the most remarkable changes were happening right there in the human colony. The research station had become something like a crystal palace, but one that felt warm and welcoming instead of cold and distant. The wool blanket that had started everything was now woven somehow into the very structure of the building, its patterns visible in the walls like veins of gold. "Dr. Chen," Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system. "You need to see what's happening at the main colony." Marcus and Zara stepped outside, followed by Lyrics and the former hegemony soldiers, who were looking around in wonder at the transformed landscape. The harsh, frozen world had become something like a garden paradise. Plants from a dozen different worlds were growing together in impossible harmony, their roots intertwined beneath the soil. At the main colony, something even more amazing was happening. Ships were landing, not warships, but refugee vessels carrying beings from across the galaxy. The song had awakened not just the desire for freedom, but the knowledge of where to find it. "They're coming here," Zara said in amazement. "Beings from hundreds of worlds, all looking for a place where they can be safe and free." An elderly alien with skin like tree bark was the first to approach them. She moved slowly, supported by a walking stick, but her eyes were bright with hope. "Child of the singing stones," she said to Zara in a voice like rustling leaves. "I am Grandmother Oakheart of the Verdani. My people were among the first enslaved by the hegemony. We have waited 700 years to hear the song of freedom again." She turned to Marcus with curiosity. "And you are the human who started this by giving freely?" Marcus felt embarrassed by the attention. "I just gave her a blanket. Anyone would have done the same. Grandmother Oakhart laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Young human, do you know how many beings passed by Zara during her 3 years of running and hiding? Thousands. And do you know how many stopped to help? Marcus felt his stomach sink. Just me? Just you, she confirmed. And that single act of kindness saved not just one life, but billions. More ships were landing now. The former hegemony vessels had been transformed by the song into beautiful, organic-looking craft that seemed to grow rather than being built. Their crews were working together to help the refugees find places to stay and food to eat. "We're going to need more space," Captain Rodriguez said, looking at the growing crowd of beings setting up temporary shelters. "Actually," Zara said thoughtfully, "I think I can help with that." She raised her 4 arms and began to sing, not with words, but with pure harmonic frequencies that made the air shimmer. The ground around the colony began to expand, new land masses rising from the ocean in elegant spirals. The transformed Earth was perfectly suited for life, with fresh water, fertile soil, and a mild climate. "How big can you make it?" Marcus asked. "As big as it needs to be," Zara replied. "The song connects me to every grateful heart in the galaxy. Their collective love gives me power beyond anything my people ever imagined." Over the following weeks, the little colony planet became something unprecedented in galactic history. A world where hundreds of different species lived together peacefully, sharing their knowledge, art, and cultures. The Zalani, Lyrix's people, taught others how to create music that could grow buildings from crystallized sound. The Verdani showed everyone how to cultivate plants that could thrive in any environment. The humans contributed something uniquely their own, the art of making different beings feel like family. "It's remarkable," said Dr. Tess, the former hegemony medical officer who had joined the growing community. "On every world I've studied, different species either ignore each other or compete for resources. But humans seem to actively enjoy diversity. We collect friends like some people collect rocks," Marcus explained. "The more different kinds we have, the more interesting life gets." But it wasn't all easy. Building a new kind of civilization never was. Some beings had been so damaged by centuries of oppression that they found it hard to trust anyone. Others had been conditioned to only understand hierarchy and struggled with the concept of voluntary cooperation. A few tried to recreate the old hegemony systems of control. That's where Zara's network proved most valuable. Through the harmonic connections, beings who were struggling could feel the support and encouragement of thousands of others who had faced similar challenges. Loneliness became almost impossible when you were constantly surrounded by the gentle presence of friends across the galaxy. "The network is becoming something like a galactic nervous system," Zara explained to Marcus one evening as they sat on the porch of his transformed research station. "When someone hurts, others feel it and come to help. When someone celebrates, the joy spreads to everyone." "Is that sustainable?" Marcus asked. "What happens when you're not around to maintain the connections?" Zara smiled and gestured to the wool blanket, which was still somehow part of her crystalline structure. "Do you remember what your grandmother told you about this blanket?" Marcus thought back. "She said it was made with love, and love never truly dies." "Exactly. The connections aren't dependent on me anymore. They're growing on their own, sustained by the care beings show for each other. Every act of kindness strengthens the network. Every friendship adds new harmonies to the song." As if to prove her point, a group of children from different species ran past their porch, laughing as they played a game that seemed to involve musical tag and anti-gravity bubbles. Among them was a young human girl who had arrived on one of the refugee ships, already fluent in 3 alien languages and teaching the other children Earth nursery rhymes. "The children adapt the fastest," Zara observed. "They don't have the old prejudices and fears. To them, having friends with 4 arms or crystal skin or bark-like hide is just normal." They're the future, Marcus said. A generation that will grow up thinking cooperation across species is natural. 6 months after the song had transformed the galaxy, Marcus received a communication that made him laugh out loud. It was from Earth itself. A message from the Global Council expressing their bewilderment at the sudden appearance of friendly alien ambassadors offering to share advanced technology in exchange for Earth music and literature. They want to know how a small research colony became the center of galactic diplomacy, he told Zara. What are you going to tell them? Marcus thought about it. How do you explain that everything changed because someone chose kindness over caution? How do you describe the power of simple human decency amplified across the stars? I'll tell them the truth, he said finally. That it all started with a blanket and a choice to help someone who needed it. But the most important message came from Lyrics, who had returned to his homeworld to help his people rediscover their musical heritage. Marcus, Zara, his communication began, I wanted you to know that we found something amazing in the ruins of our old capital. Sheet music hidden away by rebels centuries ago. Songs that my people wrote before the hegemony silenced us. The transmission included a recording. A hauntingly beautiful melody that seemed to contain all the joy and sorrow of a species that had lost everything and found it again. We're teaching these songs to our children, Lyrics continued. And we're composing new ones, too. Songs about friendship, about freedom, about the human who taught us that giving freely is the most powerful force in the universe. Zara wiped away, crystal tears as the song played. My grandmother would be so proud, she whispered. Not just of me, but of all of us. We took a